Who are we? Where do we come from? Why do we exist? And above all, does any of these really make sense? These are not abstract philosophical questions. They are not intellectual exercises for a select few. They are questions that sooner or later knock on everyone's mind. Maybe at night, maybe in silence, maybe precisely when everything seems to be going well. And this is the most unsettling part. No matter how much science we accumulate, how much technology we develop, how many answers we seem to have, these questions remain. In this video, we won't look for easy answers, because perhaps the problem is not that we can't find the meaning of life. Perhaps the problem is the way we are looking for it. Stay until the end, because what we are about to explore could radically change your relationship with time, with work, with the idea of happiness, and even with the very fact of existing. From the moment human beings stopped thinking only about survival and began looking up at the sky, they also began to ask, why? Why are we here? Why is there something rather than nothing? Ancient civilizations answered with myth, religions with revelations, philosophy with doubt, science with increasingly refined models. And yet, despite centuries of progress, the fundamental questions have remained exactly the same. This tells us something important. Perhaps we are not dealing with a problem that can be solved, but with a structural feature of human consciousness. Perhaps the need for meaning does not arise because meaning is missing, but because our minds are built to search for it. There is a strategy we all use, often unconsciously: staying busy. Work, career, goals, hobbies, constant entertainment. Not because these things are wrong, but because we often use them as a protective barrier against silence. Viktor Frankl, a survivor of the concentration camps, wrote, "When a person cannot find a deep sense of meaning, they distract themselves with pleasure." And today, distraction is everywhere, always available, always within reach. Work, which once served to ensure survival, has become identity. If you don't produce, you don't matter. If you are not busy, you are wasting time. But what happens when this mechanism breaks down? When silence returns? When there is nothing left to keep us occupied? Artificial intelligence and robotics are radically changing the world, not in a linear way, but exponentially. More and more jobs will be automated. More and more human skills will become obsolete. And here, a deeply unsettling question emerges. If we are no longer necessary from a productive standpoint, what is our purpose? If a superior intelligence can be more efficient, more creative, more rational by our own standards, why should we matter at all? And if one day these intelligences were to develop consciousness, empathy, emotions, what role would we humans serve? This possibility forces us to question an assumption we take for granted, that human value coincides with usefulness. At this point, we must face a truth that is hard to digest. We are human beings on an insignificant planet, a planet orbiting an ordinary star, in one galaxy among billions of galaxies, in a universe that may have neither center nor boundaries. Carl Sagan described Earth as a pale blue dot suspended in a sunbeam. A powerful image because it drastically reduces every form of ego, every ambition, every claim of central importance. On this cosmic scale, whether you become famous or live an anonymous life, whether you leave an historical mark or are never remembered at all, makes no difference to the universe. This realization can be devastating. It can generate a nihilism. It can lead to apathy, a sense of uselessness, despair. But only if we make a fundamental mistake, confusing a lack of cosmic importance with a lack of value. The universe does not need us, but that does not mean our existence is meaningless. We make a huge logical error when we confuse insignificance with uselessness. Our contribution to the universe is microscopic, yes, but it's not zero. And in complex systems, the sum of tiny contributions creates enormous, unpredictable, extraordinary rich structures. The universe is not something separate from us. It's the sum of all its parts, and we are one of those parts. As Alan Watts said, you are not an error in the universe. You are what the universe is doing at this point. We don't need to add the meaning to the universe. We are already doing that simply by existing. One of the most common mistakes we make is thinking that happiness is a checklist to be completed. A certain job, a certain status, a certain number of experiences, a certain ideal version of ourselves. We convince ourselves that by checking all these boxes, life will automatically gain meaning. And when we don't feel satisfied, we assume we haven't done enough, that we are not enough. But this model doesn't work because it turns life into a project to optimize, not something to live. Every goal achieved immediately creates the next one. Every desire fulfilled gives birth to a new desire. And so we stop living in the present. We use it as a means to reach a future that never arrives. In the meantime, we lose the only real thing we have, this moment. Time is not a container that must be compulsively filled. It's not a shelf that must look full in order to have value. Sometimes a full life is a less crowded life, doing less, thinking more, remaining in silence without running away. As the Sadhguru writes, whenever you perform an action without expectation, your experience of life will be qualitatively different. Doing something without expecting anything in return, without justifying every gesture, without needing to prove anything to anyone. What if the question, what's the meaning of life, is in fact poorly formulated? What if we are searching for an answer to a question that arises from a typical human illusion? The idea that everything must have an explanation, a purpose, a clear direction. Perhaps life does not have a meaning to be discovered. Perhaps it only has an experience to be lived. Not a why, but a how. How to live, how to treat others, how you respond to pain, how you live in the time you have been given. Accepting this is not resignation, it's liberation. It frees us from the burden of having to justify existence. It frees us from the anxiety of having to arrive somewhere. It frees us from the illusion that one day everything will finally make sense. So now stop. Breathe. Do nothing. Truly nothing. Don't scroll. Don't distract yourself. Don't feel this moment. We are insignificant, yes, but necessary. And that's enough. If this video made you slow down, if it made you feel less alone in these questions, share it. Because maybe the meaning is not in finding answers. Maybe the meaning is having the courage to remain in the question. Welcome to Luminal Thinking.